Hey everybody, I'm Ryan. Today we're going to talk about the Nerubians in World of Warcraft lore. From the energies from within the Well of Eternity, the Silithid were born. From this race of Silithid, the Aqir Empire was formed, who ruled most of Azeroth. They were obsessed with destroying all non-arthropodic life on Azeroth. The Gurubashi and Amani Trolls knew that this empire needed to be eradicated and allied against them. They fought for thousands of years. When the Aqir were eventually defeated by the Trolls, they split into three distinct colonies: the Qiraji in Ahn'Qiraj, the Mantid in Manti'vess, and the northern Aqir gathered around the prison of Yogg-Saron. And due to their proximity to the old god, the Aqir gradually evolved into what is known as Nerubians. These Nerubians in the process overthrew Tol'vir society, enslaving them, and even adopting Tol'vir architecture. There they also created the subterranean kingdom of Azjol-anak, also known as the Spider Kingdom or the Azjol Empire, on the backs of the Jormungar as beasts of labor. One could spend months wandering the tunnels and still not even come close to seeing it all. Over time, this empire flourished and expanded through all of Northrend. This kingdom had huge libraries of literature, philosophy, and magic. And the halls of the kingdom were beautiful and smooth, with murals and intricate designs throughout. It was in Azjol-anak that the Nerubians focused on their underground kingdom and left the rest of the world in peace. Unlike their relatives, they refused to worship the old gods, even though they were in close proximity to Yogg-Saron, and even warred with his minions. Nerubians are an ancient race of highly intelligent arachnoids. Generally, they're cruel creatures and attack other races on sight, unless they can get something out of an alliance. In culture, they're similar to dwarves: old, isolationist, and smart, and attuned to living underground. The major difference is that Nerubians cared deeply for knowledge, and didn't care as much about physical things as dwarves. Occasionally, they would kidnap elves and humans to experiment on to expand their knowledge. They speak Common as well as Nerubian. Nerubian is both a spoken and a sign language, spoke with clicking and rasping. Ancient Nerubians used to have quite a few schools of religious thought, but among modern Nerubians, religion is pretty alien. In the words of seer Ul'Tomon, worship makes as much sense as a fly caught in a web worshipping a spider who is about to devour him. The different types of Nerubians have special traits based off of genetics, and occupy different parts of Nerubian society. Seers are a higher class and act as priests or mages, and also as advisors to the queen. Spider Lords are the rulers of the society, and colonies are led by a Nerubian queen, who is responsible for giving birth to other Nerubians. There's also one Spider Lord reigning over all of Nerubians, who's meant to coordinate the actions of the colonies through the queens. Most of these Spider Lords eventually became the Crypt Lords of the Scourge. Now at the bottom of the society were Nerubian Workers. Workers who showed physical ability became warriors, and those who showed mental talent became seers, and those who had natural weaving skills became web spinners, showing that there is some sort of upward mobility in Nerubian society. When the Lich King arrived in Northrend, the Nerubians were aware of him, and they actively resisted him conquering them, led by their king, Anub'arak. His efforts to spread the plague of undeath to the Nerubians was effectively snuffed out by their leader, who found that the Nerubians were immune to the plague. Pushed to action, the Lich King instead used his undead to fight a war of attrition. Those who fell to his army were raised to fight for it, and slowly Azjol-anak was conquered. This was the War of the Spider. During this war, Nerubian viziers released a powerful spider, Hadronox, and hoped that it would one day grow up to challenge the Lich King's forces. It would grow up fighting these undead, but it would not save the kingdom. In the end, the Lich King raised Anub'arak himself, and while the former ruler hated being a slave, he could not free himself from the Lich King's will. Most of the rest of the Nerubians in Azjol-anak were raised as well, to be semi-mindless, bloodthirsty servants of the Lich King, aware of their actions, but unable to stop themselves. Raising Anub'arak taught the Lich King the value of corrupting those who are powerful, and knew he needed to raise more powerful beings in order to be able to conquer the rest of Azeroth, and use them to break free of the Legion. The Lich King was so impressed with the Nerubians' defense that he began using Nerubian architecture in his own structures. He even infused their ziggurats with magic, making them float in the skies, and used as staging points for undead invasions in the rest of Azeroth. including the largest and most feared, Naxxramas, which he raised into the sky, hidden behind thick clouds. The risen undead Nerubians then served the Lich King as a part of the Scourge, and participated in the Scourging of Lordaeron. Their Tol'vir slaves were also forced to serve the Scourge in the Third War, mostly in the form of obsidian destroyers. When Illidan was sent by Kil'jaeden and the Burning Legion to kill the Lich King, Arthas would not have been able to reach the Frozen Throne in time. So, he was guided by Anub'arak through Azjol-anak, which gave a faster and more direct path to the Lich King, but it was a perilous journey. Minions of the old gods lurked within its depths, which they had to fight through to reach their master. And the other Nerubians were driven away by the remains of Muradin's dwarves in Northrend. There the dwarves created the small settlement of Dorward, near the entrance to the kingdom, keeping the doors shut and hoping the Scourge would not get to them. Occasionally these dwarves would trade with the remains of the non-undead Nerubians for food and supplies. But Arthas arrived in time, defeated Illidan, and merged with Ner'zhul, becoming the new Lich King. The Lich King then used the Nerubian Ziggurats to invade Azeroth, after the Alliance and the Horde were weakened from the fighting in Ahn'Qiraj. The largest was Naxxramas, flying over Stratholme, the seat of Kel'Thuzad. This invasion was repelled by the Argent Dawn and the Alliance, led by Bolvar Fordragon. Years later, the Lich King attempted another invasion in the same way, but this was a feint, an attempt to lure the heroes of Azeroth to Northrend, so he could raise them as his own. When the Alliance and Horde were lured to Northrend, many of their settlements were built upon the ruins of Azjol-anak. Warsong Hold, held by the Horde, was one of these settlements, and had to deal with small skirmishes of Nerubians invading Mightstone Quarry. As the Alliance and the Horde fought inland, the Nerubian Ziggurat, Naxxramas, appeared over the Dragonblight, and began attacking their offensive. Once again, Naxxramas was invaded, and the Alliance and the Horde continued pushing inland. Earthquakes slowly pushed the old kingdom of Azjol-anak, Ahn'kahet, to the surface, which was the last holdout of the old Nerubian Empire. In Ahn'kahet, Nerubians, the Scourge, and minions of the old gods, who were released in the aforementioned earthquakes and the digging of the Nerubians, including Faceless Ones, fought for dominance. Most of the leftover non-undead Nerubians now live within that empire and shun all outsiders, even attacking them on sight, especially undead. They have begun work to cleanse their cities of Scourge presence so they can begin rebuilding and repopulating. The groups of living Nerubians include Azjol-anak, the Nerubians of the Sunder Monolith, and the Varu'kar. These Nerubians have enormous stashes of eggs hidden so that when their cities are cleared, they can easily begin repopulating. Some individual Nerubians leave their home in hopes of achieving something similar at an individual level to what their kingdom used to be. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative about these spider people, Nerubians. If you have any questions about any of the things I mentioned in the video, there are links to other videos I've done in the description explaining those things. As I do them, I'll put more links. And if you liked this video, obviously like and subscribe. Check me out on my other platforms, on Discord, on Twitter, on TikTok, and especially on Twitch. My wife and I stream there pretty much every day and would love for you to join the community as well. Now remember, check your bed for Nerubians before you get in.